Hello and welcome to this week's Beyond the Bio. I am joined by the delightful Kayleigh Greenacre, who is a business strategist, coach and mentor, motivational speaker, and all sorts of other things. And we're going to really delve into all the cool stuff that Kayleigh has going on. And let's start with how we met, because I quite often like to explain how guests have come to be on the show. So we met in LA.
What an incredible experience and opportunity. And I'm so pleased that I met you. I think it's such a great place, wasn't it, for connections, for networking, for building new relationships with people from different businesses. And we are here today, along with the other fabulous people that we met in LA. And we've all stayed connected, haven't we? And
It's a good group. It's a good group. And we have spoken on this show before about things like masterminds, about networking. And for me, that LA trip is a great example of a really higher level of networking. And I think some of the participants that had been on previous retreats with Lisa Johnson, who was leading that retreat, made that observation as well around the quality and the caliber of our group. So I think it's definitely something that I encourage people to explore. Obviously, LA is quite a high-end option, but people can look at lower cost, more affordable options that are more local. But it is around that network piece. And it's been really great that so many of us have stayed in touch, have connected, and have been able to do some podcast swaps. And I know people are speaking in each other's events and memberships and things. So I think that is awesome. So another great example of networking. Let's get stuck in though and talk about you. So let's start with the big one. What does being an iconic leader actually mean to you?
So iconic leader. So as you know already, Sophie, but I specialize in supporting people in becoming iconic leaders in the industry. And I think when I use the term iconic leader, it really is about your presence, your positioning, and your authority in the online space. There is so much more than just showing up on social media to really stand out so that people choose to buy from you or to work with you, depending obviously on your business. So the work that I do to support my clients around being an iconic leader is, it's ultimately about who are you being? Who are you as an individual? And when we show up, we should be showing up authentically as us. We don't need to worry about what other people are doing in our industry. It's about your energy, your confidence, your positioning, because ultimately that is what will dictate the results that you have and how many people will resonate with you, will connect with you, and will then want to buy from you. It's that know, like, and trust factor to an extent, but it's about you, your energy, your confidence, your positioning. And actually, are you fully embodying that? Are you embodying who you are as an individual and allowing your audience to be able to see that, if that makes sense?
Interesting. It really does. I love that iconic leader. It just sounds so powerful, which is great.
Right. And I think it really elevates people's confidence of who they are as well, because we hear the word authority thrown around an awful lot in the online space, which is great. We hear the word magnetism, that was a bit of a buzzword a couple of years ago, but I really lean into this iconic leadership, because at the end of the day, when we look at people who are really successful in the online space, let's talk about some of the really, really big names like Daniel Priestley, Mel Robbins, Stephen Bartlett. They are all iconic leaders because they are the people who are setting the trends. They are the people that are thought leaders and sharing with their audience their own opinions, their perspectives, their values, their beliefs. And they are the people that everyone else is following or who are listening to. And so I think it's really, really important to really understand, that key message that you want to get across to your audience and the positioning that you're allowing yourself to be in your industry. If you're just another person that's saying the same stuff as everyone else, you're just going to blend in and you're going to end up being a little bit lost. Whereas, when we're talking about visibility and we're talking about how we can stand out, if you have that edge, if you have that, I'm going to say authority, but also that authenticity in your own voice as a thought leader, you're much more likely to be seen, to be heard, and therefore to be chosen.
And do you just work with women?
I do. Yeah,
Right. Okay.
I do just work with women. Yeah.
I thought you did. I was just checking. What would you say then to female entrepreneurs who are struggling to show up online as themselves? Are you coaching them in confidence in any way to be able to show up more confidently?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's three sort of key areas that we do an awful lot of work around, and it's the positioning, the messaging, and the presence. And when we're talking about confidence, that all kind of leans into this presence, of being who you are, showing up with that certainty, that power, sharing your real thoughts and your opinions. And I think what a lot of people do struggle with is the confidence to be able to do that. And I used to be like this as well. When I first started my business, I've always been very, very confident. But when I first started my business, I just kind of did what everyone else was doing. I kind of thought, well, that person's doing that, so that's what I need to do, right? Whereas actually, it's being bold with what you want to say. So again, being a thought leader. So with the confidence piece, I think for anyone listening to this, thinking, well, I'm not confident about sharing my opinions, my perspectives, my belief on anything. Don't be afraid of what other people are thinking. I think so many of us are always worried about that judgment, that fear of judgment and fear of being put down by the people. But actually, the more you lean into what you want to say, as long as you're not necessarily offending anyone, but the more you lean into your own opinion, your own perspective, the more people are willing to listen because they can see that you have an opinion. They can see that you have a thought, that you have a perspective, and you're not doing what everyone else is doing. So when it comes to the confidence thing, I think it's about starting small and thinking about what are just one or two things you really want to share with your audience that potentially goes against what everyone else is saying in the industry, or maybe a trend that's trending at the moment that you disagree with. Give your opinion on it, give your perspective on it. Just start small. And the more you do it, the more you can build that confidence up.
Yeah. And when you talk about that fear of being judged or getting some kind of pushback, I guess, on that, is that something that you've experienced yourself?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So very, again, going back to sort of the earlier days of my business and when I was trying to be honest with you, find my voice, right, in the online space. I wasn't known. No one really knew who I was. I invested a lot of money into the highest masterminds that I could find to really get into the rooms, around the table, in the energy of the right people. But I still felt very nervous about putting something out there and people judging me, or people saying something nasty or mean, because I want to please that, I wanted to please everyone. I was a people pleaser back then. And it did take me a little bit of work, in fact, a lot of work, mindset work, really, in regards to just really thinking, but actually, if people really want to know who I am as an individual, and if I want to attract the right people to me, they need to understand who I actually am and not just see me as agreeing with the iconic leaders in the space, right? So yeah, so it was definitely me. I would say about 3.5 to 4 years ago, I was that person that was really worried, really, afraid of what people might say.
And did anything actually happen
No,
in terms of people judging you or giving you grief?
never, never at all. Especially not in the earlier days when you, like I said, you start to kind of put those opinions out there and those messages out there. It's almost as if actually people will agree with you, or if they disagree with you, because again, it's about practice, it's about putting that message out there and all your opinion. I think people respect it. They respect that you have an opinion, they respect you, that you're an individual. And like I said, as long as you're not directly offending anyone, which none of us want to do, obviously, you're only given an opinion or perspective on things. So what is the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is to someone to say, I disagree with you on that one. And
Exactly.
they might say a few mean words if they're not a very kind person, but that isn't the end of the day. Like, that's not going to affect our businesses, and it shouldn't affect our confidence. We need to push through that and know that not everyone is going to agree with us.
Yeah, totally. And I think that people do have a big fear around, what are people going to say? Am I going to get the mean comments and stuff? But it's really reassuring, I think, to hear your experience, particularly as someone in that online space that I think attracts more nastiness than the real business world, like the in-person business world, if you like, because online business space is still very new to me. So I'm used to old school, you do your business in person, and everything's very face to face, and you do not get that in the face to face world. But I have seen things online where I'm just like, baffled by how people behave. So to actually hear you say that you did have some concerns about putting yourself out there, but actually you've pushed through that and you've worked on your own confidence, practiced what you preach, and actually you're not getting any of these negative things anyway. So I think it's quite an extreme. Yes, we all know people that have had some grief online, but I think what I'm hearing from you is actually it's more in your head than in reality. And also, I'm confident that you will be telling me that the benefits that you've had from being more visible have by far outweighed sort of any worries or concerns that you might have had.
Absolutely. And it's in the power of your message as well. At the end of the day, if you have something of real value that you want to share with your audience, why would you not share it? I think
Totally.
if there are people hiding behind keyboards, the keyboard warriors as we call them, and saying nasty things, they're not the right people for us anyway. And I think it's about, again, it's about that kind of mindset of it as well, isn't it? At the end of the day, if you want your business to grow, you have to get more visible. You have to allow people to see who you are. So therefore, lean into that, stay focused, stay in your lane. And no matter what comes at you, if you are unfortunate to have someone say something mean or nasty to you, we know, a couple of people that have had, situations and scenarios, but push through that because you are better than that. And you don't need that in your distraction because you're on a mission. You've got your focus.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally agree. So I see the online space has been quite noisy. How are you advising your clients to stand out in that space without kind of doing anything too crazy? I don't know. Maybe you are advising them to be crazy. How are you telling them to stand out?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it all comes down to your positioning. So your positioning and your messaging. So obviously we've talked a little bit about confidence and presence online, and I think that's really important. But when it comes to actually standing out in a very noisy space, which absolutely the online space is, I always say to anyone that I work with is just really focus on how you are positioning yourself. If you think that, you want to attract those premium clients, for example, or those premium buyers, and you know that you've got a service or a product or a program or something that's going to support people and give them the solution that they need, then what you need to do is you need to tell them that. You need to say and allow your audience to see that you have the solution, that you are the one person that can support them. And in your industry, you are recognized as the one person for this specific thing. So what a lot of people struggle with the standing out piece is what is my one thing? What is my superpower? What is my genius? My zone of genius, etc. And it is about finding that key thing and then talking about it consistently every single day. So for me, it's about iconic leadership and evergreen sales. So I have two, to be honest with you, but they kind of work well together. And everyone will know when they see the word iconic, they will, for those that are in my world, when they see the word iconic, they'll think of me because it's the word I use. Or if they see evergreen, they'll think of me because of the sales that I teach. So again, it's finding that kind of unique thing, that one particular element, your superpower, your zone of genius, the one thing that people know that you are the go-to person for. And when you find that and you recognize it, then lean into that with your messaging. So all of your messaging needs to be around that one thing. You need to elevate the importance of that one thing in your messaging so that people can see the value of working with you and that one particular thing that you can support them with.
That makes so much sense. Would you say it's ever too early to start thinking about building your personal brand in business?
No, I think this is something, especially now in 2025, I think that we're in a time where it is noisier than ever in the online space. AI is huge and it's supporting an awful lot of businesses. But what I'm seeing is that there are so many people sounding exactly the same. And if you're, for example, a mindset coach, I'm just going to use that as an example. If you're a mindset coach, there are hundreds of thousands of mindset coaches in the online space. So building a personal brand and actually allowing your audience to see who you are as an individual is going to be so, so important. Because if you're offering a mindset coaching program, so is the other tens of thousands of people. But if you, as a personal brand, who is Sophie or Sally or Sarah, and you've got a specific key thing that you specialize in, and you've got a framework or a blueprint or something that is very unique to you that can take them through that journey give them that solution and get them to where they want to go, that will make you stand out more, because you're not blending in with the same things that everyone else is talking about. So I think personal branding is really important. It allows people to connect with you, to see who you are, and to see you as your unique identity.
And of all the activities that you've done since you've had your business, in terms of building your brand, so the podcast, speaking, all these different things, what would you say has had the biggest impact on your visibility?
Do you know, it's such a good question. There's probably two that I would say. My podcast has been incredible. It's been massive for visibility. I have guests on my podcast, and we had you yesterday, which is fantastic. So it does support with that visibility, and we know again how important it is to try to be seen by as many people, and to be in different spaces. So podcast has been huge. But the other thing that actually I did before, or at the very early stages of my business, was my TED Talk. It was the biggest thing. In fact, I even had someone who reached out to me 2 days ago and joined my program on that exact day.
Wow.
And this happens quite frequently. People see the TED Talk, somehow they come across it wherever it is, because it is everywhere. And that is one of my biggest drivers, that people come into my DMs for me. I do a lot of my sales, or most of my sales in on social media in the DMs, and they will talk to me about my TED Talk. And that has been one of the biggest things that has supported me in growing my business, getting more visible, obviously, and you know, as an effect of that.
When did you do your TED Talk? When was it?
2020. Hang on, I'm thinking back now. 2021.
And how many views is it on?
Do you know what? Off the top of my head, I don't know. I think it's about 15,000 or so at the moment. So it's not massive. It's not.
It's decent, yeah. But imagine, having 15,000 coffees. It's think about it in that sense. So, do you still promote that? A few years ago now, are you still promoting it, or are people just finding it?
Do you know what? If I'm being really honest with you, people are just coming across it. So it's in my links. It's on my website. Obviously it's available to find on my YouTube channel, etc. So it is there, but I don't naturally promote it an awful lot. And it's actually something that I should do, because I think when you've got an asset or something along the lines like a TED Talk, or, we were talking about books, weren't we? And that's been, another fantastic thing that helped start and boost my business in the early days. But I think if you've got something like that, it's recognized, and it's something that people are very interested in. Books, TED Talks, speaking on stages, keynote speaking, and anything along those lines, I think is fascinating, and people are interested. So I think, no, I'm not actively promoting it, but I definitely should.
I think that's a light bulb moment for both of us right there, where after we've finished this recording, we're going to put something in our social plans and our messaging around promoting that, because you're absolutely right. It is an asset, and it, I would, even though mine was 6 years ago, I think, it's still relevant. It's still relevant, and it's still, it's that credibility piece. It's obviously it's a well-known brand, so actually we should be making the most of that, because at the moment we're just allowing people to maybe find it if they're having a good nose through our links and whatnot. So we're missing a trick there. So actually my action, and I am all about taking action on this podcast, is going to be to see if we can pop it out through our newsletter and on our socials, actually, and give that a bit of another boost, because I think it's good. Yeah, some really good suggestions there. Now, getting personal, you're very open about being a single mom and how your daughter Sophia inspires your work. I'm very similar, because I've got Jess. And how old's Sophia?
She's 8. Yeah, 8 at the moment.
Oh, cute. 8, such, because she'll still really like you. 8.
Well, 8 going on 18.
Okay, maybe not then. Maybe not. I know the hormones kick in early, but how would you say being a single parent has shaped your brand and mission?
So there's definitely a backstory to this, but to keep it sort of short and sweet for our listeners, Sophia has played a massive part of my mission, of my business. And one of the main reasons why I started my business was because of her. I think I've got a background in education as well, done an awful lot of leadership work and coaching and education. And one of my biggest realizations was that not enough women and females have enough self-belief in order to pursue their own dreams. You know, I feel like I've been brought up in a world where, again, stereotypical gender norms are still there. And I know that things have massively changed. We're in 2025, you know, there are more independent women than ever before, but I still felt back then that there was still a lot of work to do. So what I've done is I've built the business and I've built the entire movement to inspire and to motivate as many women as possible with their self-belief, their mindset, and to go after the dreams. If they want to build a business, and if they want to, you know, provide for their children, if they want to, you know, create that freedom, that wealth, success, whatever it looks like, that they can do it. They do not need a man to be able to do it.
I love that. And do you think that more women now feel that kind of permission to integrate their personal stories in with their brand? Or do you think it can still sometimes be seen as a bit risky?
I think they can, and they do. And I know that there's some incredible people who, you know, are spreading sort of similar messages. And, you know, there are some fantastic movements out there now for female empowerment anyway. So I feel like the message is building across the world in all kinds of, you know, sources, etc. I think there's sometimes a little bit of holdback. You know, I even see it with my own personal friends sometimes where, you know, I can see that there is possibility and opportunity, but people do hold themselves back. So I still think that there is work to do. But at the end of the day, it has to come down to the individual, doesn't it? You know, there is so much motivation and inspiration out there. But if you don't believe that you can actually do it, you will never give yourself that opportunity. So I think it's so important to have that full self-belief within you.
I totally agree. And I think, you know, you've got to share what you feel comfortable with. But I think equally something I've been reflecting on is since I've been more open about being a single parent, this was something that you and I were chatting about yesterday around the fact that I hid that for a long time and for all sorts of reasons. But actually, you kind of, again, it goes back to you doing people a disservice by not sharing those things, because I would have loved to have seen, I guess, a role model single parent smashing it in business at that point in time. And I was the first person in my friendship circle to get divorced and become a single parent and all those things. And it was really challenging and it was just a really crappy time all round. So actually, if I'd seen someone in my place at that time, that would have been really valuable. And I think one of the things we just talked about TEDx talk was that when I did mine, and I do talk about being a single parent in that, I got a lot of messages when that came out from people sharing the most vulnerable circumstances with me, like totally out of the blues, but mostly strangers, but some people that I vaguely knew. And you know, I remember having people that were you know, considering divorcing their husbands and stuff, and like sharing such personal things. And I just thought, wow, that's you know, that felt good. Actually, I felt like that's helpful. So yeah, interesting. Okay, you've created movements, not just a business. So from actually I Can and also the iconic era, what would you say it takes to turn a brand into a movement?
Great question. And I think this is something that I love supporting people with. I think when people build businesses and they build personal brands, it's an incredible opportunity for them to support people, to help people change people's lives or provide them a service, a product, etc., of whatever they, you know, the desire that they want for the solution. But I think when it comes to a movement is a huge thing. It's all about the embodiment of that. I think if you truly believe in your vision and your mission, and you have a mission to literally change people's lives or transform something in society or the economy or whatever it is specifically, fully embodying that and going to that next level of spreading the word, spreading the message. You know, this isn't just about money. It's not just about profit. This is about positively impacting as many people as possible. And I think with movements, there is such a big difference with a business and with a movement, but you can turn a business into something huge when you really believe in it, you embody that, and you know that you have an opportunity to impact as many people as possible. So there's a lot around it, but I just want to keep it like short and sweet in regards to kind of the concept behind it. But I love it. I do. I absolutely love supporting people and building movements. And that is definitely my mission over the next couple of years, to help people spread their word, spread their message, and positively impact people's lives as much as
that was going to be my final question. What's next for Kayleigh Greenacre, and how are you going to keep evolving your brand as your business and life change?
Yeah, so we've got some exciting things coming out later this year. So we've got the documentary being released, and that's all part of the movement of Actually I Can, the self-belief piece. So I think it's just continuing on, spreading that movement further, impacting people's lives more positively, allowing women to see that they can achieve whatever they want to achieve. We're going into more schools next academic year to spread the word, spread the mission. And it really is, like I said, this isn't just about making money at all. This is about giving people the empowerment, the self-belief that anything they want to achieve, they can achieve it with the right mindset and the right strategy and support.
Love it. Kayleigh, if anyone watching or listening hasn't come across you before and they've just discovered you for the first time, where's the best place for them to find you?
So any of the socials, to be honest with you, I think Instagram is probably my most common one to hang out in. But if you literally just type in my name, Kayleigh Greenacre, on any of the platforms, I will come up.
Yeah, we'll pop a link to your Instagram handle in the show notes just to make that super easy for everyone to see what you're up to. Kayleigh, thanks so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, it would be mint if you could like, subscribe, and leave a review on your favourite platform. See you next week.